For Animal Testing by
Derek Neto.
Diamond Acosta.
and Bridget Singleton.
So, the overview of this presentation. This video will include Derek Neto,
Diamond Acosta.
And Bridget Singleton speaking.
history and background on animal testing, ethical aspects in animal testing, why some are for animal testing, current events related to animal testing, and expansion of knowledge and conclusion. The brief description of why animal testing is good. Without animal testing, many medical breakthroughs could not have occurred, as mammals share a similar set of organs to some animals, which provides a great resource when looking at research techniques. Animal testing is not cruel, but a human way to help medical professionals and other scientists decipher what medical practices are safe on humans. We will focus on specific reasons within this slideshow, examining what research would not be possible without animals. Lastly, there are many laws and organizations directly focused on humane treatment of animals being tested. History of animal testing. Aristotle is a very well-known philosopher who performed experiments on living animals. Galen also is a Greek philosopher who practiced in Rome, is still remembered for his medical research, which included animal testing. From his experiments, Galen discovered that arteries carry blood. He helped advance the knowledge of anatomy and practices of medicine everywhere. Throughout the 17th century, experiments were done on animals to understand their anatomy. In the 18th century, philosophers used animals to learn more about the cardiovascular and respiratory system. History of animal testing continued. Before the 18th century, didn't believe that the animals could feel pain. In 1938, Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act was passed. In 1994, animals were used by the U.S. space program. In 1996, Dolly the lamb was the first cloned animal. Brief timeline of animal testing. Ancient civilizations documented animal testing in 300 to 200 BC. In 1880, testing on sheep proves theory of germs. In 1920, Edgar Adrian was able to prove that the brain sends communication signals using frogs. In the 1950s, anesthesiatics developed using animals such as rodents, dogs, cats, monkeys, and rabbits. Anesthesiatics were developed. Brief timeline continued. In the 1960s, due to animal research in 1965, the polio vaccine was created. Later in the 1960s, heart surgeries were performed on dogs. 1970s, depression treatments were tested. Mental health affects a large portion of today's society. In the 1970s, depression treatments were tested on guinea pigs. 1980, testing on mouse and armadillos led to the development of treatments for leprosy. In 1996, Dolly the sheep, the first cloned animal, was Dolly the sheep.
Why animal testing is vital. In the 1950s and 1960s, there was a painkiller created to get rid of any insomnia, common cold, and morning sickness. Thousands of people took this drug. Later, there were 10,000 babies born in over 40 countries who were born with malformations or missing limbs related to their mothers taking this drug. There are countless stories where companies don't do drug trials and humans die because of this. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, in 1937, a U.S. pharmaceutical company created a simpler drug and then marketed this drug to the public. No animal testing was done. This led to mass poisoning of those who took the drug, followed by death. The ethical aspects in animal testing. The main reason for using animals for testing is for the safety and welfare of humans and animals, as they are very similar, but also throughout the process has brought safety to animals through them being tested. For example, mice are 98% genetically similar to humans, so when developing new medicines, it is more ethical to attempt on an animal versus an animal without knowing what the outcome could be. Even though this puts more risk on the animals, it is more ethical when testing to use animals versus humans because of the unknown factor that is involved, as human safety should be a priority over animals. Also, the animals are easier to monitor in controlled environments. There are many laws and regulations when it comes to animal trials. Animal testing is ethical here, and this is why. The Animal Welfare Act of 1966 limits and regulates the treatments of animal research. These practices are then audited by the United States Department of Agriculture, widely known as the USDA. According to the National Institute of Health Office of Laboratory Animal Welfare, the Public Health Service oversees the Food and Drug Administration as well as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention programs related to the topic of animal testing. The PHS has strict policies that must be upheld to provide the best care for animals undergoing trials. According to Congress, government, the Humane Cosmetics Act will prohibit any cosmetic testing on animals. Ethics continued. Testing on animals is a vital part of many research practices. Animals are needed for drug research, understanding physiology more, and teaching practices, and most importantly, future medical research. However, the first research method is not to host an animal trial. New research methods replace, reduce, and refine. Animal testing is vital, however, there are other research methods. The 3 R's is one way of developing new research. Replace animals with non-living methods, reduce the use of animals, lastly, refine animal use of practices. This is being practiced globally, however, we cannot eliminate animal testing altogether. Ethics continued. Animals are treated with respect and care.
For animal testing, when you look into the pros and cons that come with animal testing, I think we have to keep the big picture of all the pros that animal testing has brought forth to us. For example, throughout the years, animal testing has developed several life-changing and saving cures along with treatments that would have never been developed without animals. According to animaltestingprocon.org, the California Biomedical Research Association states that nearly every medical breakthrough in the last 100 years has resulted directly from research using animals. So, in order to keep moving forward in the medical industry and help save the lives of those who are sick, we have to keep using animals to test on, as they have been providing great results in the past. Current events. Organizations that support animal testing by paying money for them to be tested on animals are Bobby Brown, Estee Lauder, Glam Glow, Maybelline, Clinique, and Makeup Forever. Animals that are being tested are mice, rabbits, dogs, cats, frogs, birds, monkeys, guinea pigs, and hamsters. Reasons for testing: biology research, drugs, food, cosmetic testing, and medical training. Current animal trials. There are numerous trials currently going on in the U.S., all centered on finding cures to better our society. Breast cancer research, Alzheimer's research, autism research, stroke research, childhood blindness research, Parkinson's disease research, artificial heart research, schizophrenia research, and gene therapy for cancer research. Knowledge of material. Diseases that are artificially induced in animals in a laboratory, whether they be mice or monkeys, are never identical to those that occur naturally in human beings. And because animal species differ from one another biologically in many significant ways, it becomes even more unlikely that animal experience will yield results that will be correctly interpreted and applied to the human condition in a meaningful way. This resource came from PETA. According to the National Cancer Institute director, Dr. Richard Clausener, we have cured mice of cancer for decades, and it simply doesn't work on humans. This conclusion was by former National Institute of Health director, Dr. Elias Zerhowi. Millions of animals are killed each year for the studies of students and or companies that do testing on animals for knowledge. Yet the animal and human organs are not nearly the same and do not all have the same effect on medicine or product. Even charities fund money to do research on animal testing, including March of Dimes and the American Cancer Society. Why you should support animal testing. Animal testing isn't meant to torture, but to decipher what is safest for humans. From drug trials, research on viruses, practices of surgical methods, animals serve as a great resource and they are treated with respect. There are laws protecting animals, and we know what we know about science because of animals. Science is always evolving, and so will our research methods. However, animals throughout time have always been a vital part to our research. The National Center for Biotechnology said it best when they made the claim, laboratory animals are not only crucial in understanding diseases, they are also essential in evaluating the safety of drugs, vaccines, food additives, household products, workplace chemicals, cosmetics, water and air pollutants, and many other substances. Conclusion. One quote our group found vital was from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health, in their article, Animal Testing and Medicine. They said issues such as cruelty to animals and the humane treatment of animals are valid concerns, and hence the use of animals in experimentation is greatly regulated. This had led to the 3 R's campaign, which advocates the search for 1, the replacement of animals with non-living models, 2, reduction in use of animals, and 3, refinement of animal use practices. However, total elimination of animal testing will significantly set back the development of essential medical devices, medicines, and treatment. The U.S. National Library of Medicine. In conclusion, animal testing has been documented as relevant since Aristotle and other very well-known philosophers performed animal experiments. Within these experiments, arteries, the circulatory system, and other anatomy was discovered. There have been faults in medicine due to lack of an animal trial, and the consequences have caused malformation of babies and death among the population. Animals are used for more than drug trials, but also as a vital part in understanding diseases such as Alzheimer's, diabetes, and various cancers. Without animal testing, drugs would be dangerous to humans, and curing diseases would be nearly impossible. Laws and regulations are upheld by the USDA and FDA. They are closely monitored animal testing, and they have strict requirements. Most of all, animals who participate in animal testing are treated humanely and with the utmost respect. Happy lab animals. Our resources come from congress.gov, softschools.com, ncbi.gov, olaw.gov, and animaljustice.california blog, Medical Testing Animals Brief History.